Welcome to the 150th edition of Spooky Reviews from Spooky Ventures. I'm Gary Hill and I'm your host and reviewer. 150 episodes. Wow, that's a milestone. This time around, I'm looking at a Blu-ray of a movie called Terror Firma. That's Terror Firma, not Terra Firma. Terror Firma is a movie from 2023. I have to think, given some of the setup, that it was inspired by the COVID pandemic. That's because it centers on three people stuck inside a house together. There is some unnamed state of emergency that has all citizens told to shelter in their homes, with any violation of that curfew resulting in arrest. Let me talk a little about the filmmaking choices here. Given a limited budget, I think this setting is brilliant. By limiting interactions and scenes this way, they were able to get by with a cast of just 4 actors and very limited settings. That has to have saved them a lot of money, but yet the movie doesn't really suffer from it. I really appreciate that and wanted to make special note of it. Now back to the story. The government drops off pallets of supplies for each home. The 3 people living in the home in this movie find that the wrapping appears to be tampered with on their pallet, and there's a mysterious packet of seeds tucked inside. Before we get too far here, let me talk a little bit about the characters. This is another part of the film that was actually very intelligent. You have a very limited cast, so you should make the best use of those characters that you can. I mentioned that there are 4 actors. There is a 4th character, but he is only in a couple scenes, so I'm not going to really talk about him in any depth. The main character of the film is Lola. She's apparently going through some sort of life upheaval even before this event happens. So she finds herself coming to stay with her brother and his roommate. The siblings are adopted, and it's obvious that there's some tension and some sort of history standing between them. We don't really get a lot of details, but this situation makes the characters have a less than ideal relationship. That helps in telling the story and allows for development. Her brother Lewis seems to have some vices, most likely some sort of substance abuse issues. He seems to be trying to make something up to his sister because he has some kind of guilt around the circumstances of their being estranged from one another. The roommate Cage is low-key creepy as we meet him. He seems like a weird sort of con man pseudo-mystic. He tries to appear clever and evolved while coming across very creepy in the process. He presents an implied threat inside the home right from the beginning. Lola decides to plant one of those mysterious seeds, and rather than growing, it creates a large hole with some kind of oddly alluring liquid in the hole. When they ingest the liquid, things start to get really strange. This movie is definitely a slow burn. Once it gets going, though, it's pretty crazy. Given the description of the film, I was expecting something like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I'd actually consider this to be closer to Color Out of Space, though. It has some inventive special effects and some real otherworldly elements at play. Yet some downright human-style violence also occurs. Overall, this is a movie that you're going to have to stick with for a little while, but the payoff is worth it in my opinion. It has a lot of science fiction built into the horror aspects. I love the music to the film too. It brings a bit of an 80s vibe. The ending feels more like something that you would have seen in the 1970s. There aren't a lot of bonuses here, but one of those is an extended cut of the film. As I like to say, people usually buy a movie for the main film, not the bonuses. I really enjoyed this one and I'm glad to own it. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.